you start with your training at Wellington Polytech in 1979, and I've quoted that you said this is the first time that you really enjoyed education, and you we talked at length during the interview about the course because there were some inspirational people there, weren't there, at that time that encouraged you?
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, tutors were more like your friends. You called them by their first names, and it was just so different to high school. So I did really love it, but I was quite young. It was after my 6th form year that I went, and so, you know, I was away from home, and quite a lot of change for me.
Yeah, and you were saying that that while you weren't good at sewing necessarily, that it took a long time. I mean, you spent a long time on projects, but you got some really encouraging advice from...
Yes, no, I used to struggle with machining because I was quite a perfectionist and, you know, not a natural. I was okay about it, but there are other students who were fantastic, and so my machining tutor, she said to me, don't worry, she said, you know, when you have your own label, you'll have your own machinists, and you do.
Yeah.
But it's really important to understand how to sew so that you know how you want it exactly. So it was very
the limitations of
important.
it and
yeah. And that's what we have here in our training in New Zealand, is we learn how to make things thoroughly, whereas overseas you maybe not do that as well. So yeah.
I think it was last night Deborah Sweeney was saying 80% was on pattern making and 20% was design.
Yeah.
And or pattern making and the other, but she would have liked more time on design.
But you know, in New Zealand, when you've got your label, it's you know, very little design time as well. A lot on manufacturing, so it's as it is.
And probably computer work too, rather than her hand sketching, which I believe is very strong.
I don't do computer work.
No, but I think that's a big
era.
aspect of design of education now, isn't it? What's it called? The program? CAD drawing. And I remember Juliet Hogan saying that when she went to Parsons, when she went to Parsons for 6 months, 8 months, that they were all into sketching, and she couldn't sketch because she'd been doing CAD, and she'd been. It's really interesting how it changes around the world. Yeah, so, but when you got out, you decided, like, I think it's encouraging, or a lot of students want to become designers when they leave. That wasn't your goal straight away, was it? It was to gain experience.
Yes, I
although
always,
you knew you always wanted to have the label.
And I always thought that I would create one-offs, which was, you know, just not practical. But I always wanted to have my own label. But having the experience working for others, that was what mattered to me.
Yeah. And so your first job after you finished Polytech, you came back to Christchurch, and it was a menswear store. Was it a menswear label?
Yes.
Or, which went into the boutique?
He had a retail store, and he wanted to...
Players Male Boutique.
Yes, he wanted to have his own label as well. And he had no experience in the trade, and so he was someone who I couldn't learn from, but he was a good salesperson. And so, you know, I learned a lot because I designed, ran the workroom, hired the staff, and, you know, had to keep everyone happy. So that was quite difficult straight away, but the experience was good.
Yeah. It would have been, and also, at that time, were you doing lots of other pattern making jobs as well?
I always had.
You always do, yeah.
I always had part-time work, you know. I used to work in the weekends and grade patterns. Like I worked for an outdoor company called Everwarm, so I worked for him for 4 years. part-time, you know.
And actually I didn't have that sort of in our outline, but I remember you saying that sort of does go back to your childhood of always working, like you come back from school and then there's some of you will know, some of you won't know that Sharon's bought Totara, wasn't it?
Yes.
To market gardeners, and the whole family were involved in the work after school and harvesting, and a very strong work ethic that they really weren't afraid of hard work, and it just seemed a means to an end to get reach your goal.
Yes, definitely.
In 1982, so just a year after, you won the Christchurch Star Award. Does it still run? I can't remember.
No, it only ran for 2 years. And but you know, competitions are always a great opportunity.
Do you remember what the garment was?
Yes, it was when Thai silk was quite in, and striped mandarin collar, and quite sort of Victorian in styling. And I had a velvet. It was a very special velvet that not many machinists could sew, with inserts of pigskin leather and in shades of brown. So it was quite Victorian looking.
And through that win, you obviously gained a lot of confidence, but there was a little aside there too that we were going to talk about, that just by coincidence, the trophy was designed and made by Ben Dorr with her new later works.
Yes, so we met up later, but I didn't know that at the time that I won the award, that this artist had designed the trophy and
actually carved it.
And so I later worked with him when I started tutoring at CPIT many years later, and then collaborated in a work with him. So it was interesting.